Before we jump into that, I usually try to take a couple minutes of the beginning of like a monologue to give to everybody out there, some, as we build into this, some thoughts. And so I'm going to hijack a little bit before we get into Engage to talk about, I've had some of the stuff going on in the real estate industry that's out there. And specifically, I'm going to talk about, seeing what's happening in the industry with some of the tech companies, the prop tech companies, Zillow, others, and just give you a little bit of a perspective and thought, because I've had a lot of emails from agents and managers. Many of you, about a month ago, just to give some reference, and I hate to ever react to what one company is doing, but because of all the publications and because of all the talk, I feel with this audience, it's worth discussing today as a company. Zillow, whether you love and hate them, Realtor.com, whether you love and hate them, all these different companies that are saying that they've got this tech stack or that's tech stack, and you read national articles and it creates a buzz, it can definitely create consternation. And what I'm seeing is emails coming in from agents and managers. A month ago it was, what are we supposed to do now? Zillow's joining the MLS. What are we supposed to do now? Realtor.com is announcing packages that you pay referral fees instead of upfront fees, and they're trying to collect a 40% referral fee. What do we do now? Zillow has decided that they are buying showing time. Haven't closed on it yet, but are buying showing time. What's the company doing? What am I supposed to do? My business. And some of it I'm finding, and I don't mean to be dismissive, some of it I find this happened growing up in this real estate business. There's always a lion over the hill that's going to come and take our business. There's always somebody who's going to disrupt the industry. It's going to take away the real. I've been hearing that for as long as I've been alive, because there's been the relocation companies were going to disrupt the real estate business in the 70s and 80s. Did they? Well, they created that we pay referral fees, and they went corporate business and built upon that. The franchise companies were going to disrupt the business. Well, today, the largest companies across the country are still independently owned, and they're privately held. They're not. The public real estate companies are going to disrupt the business. And have they? There's been public real estate companies for 30 years, and sometimes all those things that happen improve our business, and we're able to respond and react. The sort of fear factor of what Zillow's doing, I want everybody in the company to rest assured that every agent, every manager, that we're totally focused and having dialogue on levels to look at what our strategy will be, but we're not going to knee-jerk react. We're going to look. And the biggest strategy, and I've had great emails from Jackie Casera in Cleveland Heights was nice enough to share me a lot of dialogue going on between a great group of agents sort of discussing this on a chat line and what this means and how. And the best takeaway at the end was we started to hear agents say, why don't we work our sphere? Why don't we work the people we know? Why are we being beholden for leads from strangers? Why aren't we better responding to the leads we get from howardhanna.com and looking at them as important as the leads that we get that we pay for from Zillow? And you never want to put all your eggs in one basket, but you have to realize that the company is addressing all this. I mean, one of the things that 7 years ago, and I'm going to address the Zillow thing because it really sort of frustrates me. 7 years ago, Zillow bought a company called Loop. And I have agents emailing me this week saying, like, they didn't know that it was bought 7 years ago. We told agents, don't use Loop. We went to Multilis saying, don't use Loop. We have a contract with Loop that says if you use their system, they can't, because they're owned by Zillow, they can't repopulate your data. And I'd had agents say, well, I don't worry about Zillow having my data, so what? Well, we do have our own platforms. We do have our own, you go into GoHanna, we use Instanet, we use ZipForms. If you haven't used them in the past, look at using them. It's all electronic, and all the data is saved within a server between the company and you, on your customers, on the offers you write, even ones that don't get accepted. So we have a solution for that, but we have to decide, just because the Multilis uses Loop, do we have to at Howard Hanna? Maybe it makes a little bit more frustrating, but I bet you now with the Zillow move, a lot of Multilis start changing their perspective of whether they want to use any Zillow products. Secondly, with Zillow, the showing time system. Most showing time services are through the MLS. And so when I have agents calling me saying, what are we going to do at Howard Hanna? Well, I will tell you that we have a team of people between marketing and IT led by Dan Riley that is looking at, can we find a different showing solution? But sometimes those showing solutions have to also be leveraged on top of an MLS. I can tell you this morning that NAR sent out a great paper that Helen shared that we're going to dive into of what NAR is looking to offer different solutions, because maybe NAR should have bought showing time since they own most of the MLSs and made that for our dues something we could use. So I think we as an industry have to look at the reactions of a private company and say, we as a company have to look at how we respond, and we will. And I want you to rest assured, don't worry that, don't think we're not paying attention, because we are. I have a meeting this afternoon with senior management at Zillow and at Showing Time to really understand what they're doing, to understand what at least they're going to tell me today that they're doing. We have teams of people doing lots of different things to look at that. And so I don't want you to be afraid of big bad Zillow. Kind of funny, if you didn't watch the Saturday Night Live skit about them, you should, because it basically said that people are going on there voyeuristically and then they're connecting to an agent and they don't really want to talk to an agent. And that's why we get so many leads that don't surface to anything, and they're selling business off your leads. So we'll look at that. We'll look at Zillow. We'll look at Realtor's new plan on having referral fees in markets where we've never had to pay them before. We're going to look at everything. Trust that that's being addressed. But at the same time, what I would ask everybody out there to do is look at your own business at the same time and look at the value proposition of tools that we've created at Howard Hanna that maybe you haven't looked at in the past. Maybe in the past, you're like, well, I don't need that. I'm too busy to learn that. I've got so much I'm going on. And let me touch on a couple. Okay. One is, just briefly, I want to talk about the Howard Hanna lead engine that is howardhanna.com. All right. howardhanna.com is, first of all, it's become a regional real estate site. We pay millions of dollars to SEO, to hosting services to drive more leads. Can we drive more leads? We sure can, and we've got a plan to do that. We've got a budgeted plan that marketing's finalizing to even increase the leads from there. We also know that from feedback and complaints, we're also looking at probably, if the team gets it done, for some markets, we're going to add even a better, let's call it a virtual assistant. We're putting a plan in place right now, hopefully by end of March in all markets. Some we already have it in place in the Carolinas and parts of New York, downstate New York, where we can offer you a virtual assistant for your internet leads. Right now, if you think about it, all your leads come directly to you from howardhanna.com as a listing agent, and you've got to manage that. And sometimes they are spam, and sometimes they're just junk that flows through, just like anywhere else. Well, one of our goals is how can we create a system using one of our companies, One Cabo, using some of our back of the house systems, some great people that have been added to the company, like Adam McCall in Charlotte, who really looks at the analytics of leads, and how can we create a better lead capture for you, the listing agent, and for other agents in the company. But what I will say is you have to respond to your leads. In December or November, I tested 25 agents in the company and our IDX system and everything else. I just sat at home, quarantine, sending out emails to people. All right. And out of 25 people, I had 10 agents that I requested leads specifically to those agents. I won't say who they were and embarrass them. That to this day, they've never responded back to me, which means that the lead is lost. And if you, and even though you might have looked at it and said, it's Hoby Hanna, I said, this is Hoby, I'm testing. Please just let me know you got this so I can see not only how quickly our agents are responding, but our system, how well it works, how I could go back to our vendors, And I had, by the way, of the 20, the 10 that didn't, the others responded like in seconds and minutes. It was like, I was overly impressed, but that's valuable, those leads. Now we can improve the lead flow. We can improve the capture. We can improve the scrubbing. And we're going to do that as a commitment in 2021. But I'd ask you as a commitment that you look and say, if those leads are valuable, then you start responding and have a system in place. Secondly, if those leads are valuable to you, or if they're not valuable to you, you don't want them, then do us a favor. We're going to come up with a system that says, if you don't like internet leads, tell us, because we want to repopulate and get other Hanna agents to at least service that so the customer experience is as good as it should be. So that's one aspect that I could ask every agent on here to take a look at your lead flow, your lead management, and what better job can you do? And you'll hear some ways that you can even connect that with Engage and how it can help you later today. That's number one. Number two, In case every agent doesn't know, every agent as part of your platform package has your own agent IDX site, your own website at Howard Hanna, which has all the other listings. Now, this panel probably knows what IDX is, but what I found is a lot of agents don't. And IDX means Internet Data Exchange. IDX is the ability for, at howardhanna.com, you don't just find Howard Hanna listings, you find everybody's listings. And when somebody inquires on an XYZ listing or ABC listing, we then give that to other agents to procure and work. And it's our way of having great traffic on our site and hopefully driving more leads to agents that want to be part of that team to receive those. Well, I think agents forget that every one of you has a Howard Hanna site that has ID. So if you send all your customers not to go to howardhanna.com, but Jody Douglas at howardhanna.com, every time Jody's customers go through her, they can find every other Howard Hanna listing, every other listing at every other company, so that if they're looking and they want information, even if it's somebody that Jody met at an open house and hasn't really followed up with, every time they come back through Jody at Howard Hanna, it's going to be a lead generator for you. So if you have somebody if your clients, if your customers, if somebody is just even past customers, you should say, hey, make sure you log in and save my website so they see the whole market. Okay. So you get the whole market. Secondly, with your IDX site, you should be promoting that on your business cards and everywhere you can. All right. Third is if you're not using open to close, if you're not using Spacio open to close across your business, even if you're not doing as many open houses, it can be used if you're doing virtual open houses. Every one of your clients, quite honestly, you should put in to open to close as a platform. It connects to Engage, but it also connects them to Real Scout. Okay, because Real Scout is even the actual, in my opinion, it's a Zillow killer, because what it does, if you get the client to go to Real Scout and it pushes out, they get to give you interaction. They get to be able to say to you, I really like this kitchen. You can't do that at Zillow today. And the more eyeballs we get away, you take a first-time buyer that you're working with that says, I look at Zillow, say, stop doing that. You need to use Real Scout because I can get feedback from you and you're going to get it in real time. So utilize that as a tool. And even better yet, I heard in a meeting yesterday, take all your past customers that you have an email with and send them an invite on their home or a home in their neighborhood at the same price. Or even if you sold them a house 5 years ago, maybe it's send them an invite for a house that's $50,000 more than that house. So they're connected back to you, your past customers, through Real Scout. Because how many of those people that bought a house from you 7 years ago might be thinking about buying today that you don't even know it? So you connect them through Real Scout. And if they play with it, you're going to see that they're saving things, their activity, they like something, you get the feedback. So if we use those tools to a greater degree than we ever have before, and you leverage those and put them in your marketing, that's going to help you.